everyone. It's Tuesday again, which means you have me, Adele. And this week on Diary of a Genderfluid, we're talking about changes in gender. Now, for this video, I decided that specifically I'm going to focus on a project that I started in November of last year. And it wasn't a very long project, but basically what I did was I started to record what gender I was every single day and mark it on my calendar. Now, I didn't end up getting a calendar for this year, so it stopped like a week after the end of 2014. So I only got 49 days recorded, but I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool, and so I decided to go back and look at it and do what I like to do, which is calculate some statistics. Yay! And I basically just figured out what percentages, what percent of the time I was a particular gender. So to explain kind of how this worked, so I wrote down on the calendar what gender I was every day, and I had like little symbols. So there were 4 basic genders that I started off with. F for female, A for agender, B for bigender, and M for male. But in addition to these 4 basic genders, I added a little plus or minus symbol, and the minus represented female and the plus represented male. So for example, if I was feeling like super female that day, I wouldn't just mark an F, I would mark an F minus. Or if I was agender and leaning, like even though I was mostly genderless, but feeling a little bit like a guy, somewhere, you know, kind of in the middle of the spectrum from agender to male, somewhere in here, I would mark it with an A+. So with the plus minus system, I ended up creating 10 different possibilities for what my gender could be. This still at the time felt really basic to me, but now that I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to calculate 10 different statistics? Oh, but it's not hard. Percentages are pretty easy. So, there was also one more gender possibility that I didn't think up beforehand, but there was one day where it was like, I just don't know what my gender is, so I wrote down a question mark. So 4 basic gender possibilities with a question mark, and 10 basic or 10 not so basic gender identities plus a question mark. So let's get down to the nitty gritty and see what I am, what percent of the time. For those 49 days, I was a female 28.6% of the time. I was agender 59.2% of the time. I was bigender 8.2% of the time. I was male 2% of the time. And I had no idea what I was 2% of the time. So that's just basically what it was. And based off of those percentages, it seems like I'm agender a lot and male almost never. And this kind of, I was like, I don't really feel like this is totally representative of the genders I experience. So of course I had to calculate the percentages for the 10 different possibilities in addition to that extra question mark. So for the 10 different possibilities, I was F minus or extremely female 16.3% of the time. I was female 12.2% of the time. I was agender with female leaning 14.3% of the time. I was agender 32.7% of the time. I was agender with masculine leaning 12.2% of the time, bigender with female leanings 4.1% of the time, bigender 2% of the time, bigender with masculine leanings 2% of the time, male 2% of the time, very extremely male never, and little question mark, I have no idea what I am 2% of the time. So what the extra possibilities reveal to me, as opposed to just the 4 basic genders, it showed me that although I wasn't hardly ever like straight up male, aside from that, there was a lot more even distribution of the percentages over the different possibilities. So, like, even though I was straight up male only 2% of the time, I was agender with masculine leanings 12.2% of the time. So yeah, I just think that that sort of data is interesting to look at, and I recommend that if you're really scientific and exacting like I am, this is a really fun project to do. I found this activity is super therapeutic, and just like, it doesn't really end up showing anything or proving anything, but I just find it interesting and a way to learn more about myself. I definitely want to do this project again and start once again writing down what my gender is every single day, because I know that this data is also probably biased. About 6 months ago, actually it's 8 months now, I know for sure that I was feeling female more often than I do now, and now I feel male more often than I did back then. So these percentages aren't even correct, but I also think that it's cool to show like all of the different ranges of gender that I experience. It was also interesting to like look at the physical calendar and see that I used to be the same gender or a similar gender for even up to an entire week, and I would have like groupings of, on average, about 4 days where I would stay a gender and then I would change. This is also different for me now, or at least I think it is. I feel like my gender changes significantly day to day. Almost every single day it's something different. Then again, since I'm not writing it on the calendar anymore, there's no way to visually see this and confirm it. My memory is terrible, so I could have no idea what I'm really talking about. So that was just, you know, a fun way to learn about how my gender changes. Nothing really significant, like, ooh, wow, breakthroughs for this video. No talking about, you know, serious issues or anything, but yeah, just something cool. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.